The next speaker on our list is a duo. We have Michael and Marianne Dalton, mum and dad of proud daughter? Son, daughter?
Sorry?
Daughter, got that?
Daughter, yeah.
Proud daughter. So take it away.
Thank you, John.
I'd just like to say that for all the people out there who might be wanting to live differently to what they're living now, go for it. It's wonderful.
All right.
It might be hard.
Give it up. Go for it.
Yeah, terrific. I'd agree. And it's interesting to hear Keith's. That sounds terrific, and we all look forward to those sort of things and more of them coming online. We're sort of involved in similar project, but we're having a little more difficulty with NDIA, and perhaps I'll just briefly outline that and some conclusions perhaps that can be drawn from that. Our daughter Kate's 37, she has multiple disabilities, and she is present living in supported accommodation with Gateways, who are terrific, fantastic Geelong support group. She's always been keen to live independently of us and has done so since she was 21. And last year, Housing Choices, an organisation, not-for-profit organisation involved in social housing, renovated a number of flats in Ormond Road in Geelong. And they asked for expressions of interest of anyone who might be interested in being a part of that. Kate was really keen to be involved, and she requested, would we put her name down? We went and had a look at the flats prior to that, and she thought they were terrific and wanted to be involved. Marianne contacted NDIA and said, well, what do we need to do at this point? Do we need to have any discussions? And they said, oh no, just wait and see if you get an offer, and then when you get an offer, we'll proceed from there. Kate did get an offer, and that was in October last year, so end of September last year. So we needed to get to NDIA pretty quickly and get something in train so that Housing Choices would start getting rent for the flat that Kate had been given. NDIA organised, we requested an urgent plan review because Kate's been involved with NDIA since the start, and I must say at this point that it's been a fantastic experience for her. It's really changed her life and has been a wonderful experience, and NDIA is just superb, and we need to make sure that it keeps going well. We then had the review. We were given the review, and that proceeded. And reviews, when you have a review, you go right back to the beginning. You can't just sort of top up the review that you've got. So we sat down and for an hour went through the plan review, and we got to the point where the reviewer realised that Kate was needing overnight support. Prior to this, Gateways had gone to NDIA and said, how would it go if they were sort of allocated a number of these flats so that they could support people who came into those flats more efficiently, if any of them needed overnight support. And NDIA said, oh no, you can't do that because that would mean those people are then tied to that service provider and that everyone has to have a choice and they need to be able to decide for themselves who supports them. So in our plan review, we requested therefore that, that Kate got pretty well one-to-one support overnight because while she doesn't need 24-hour full-on care, she certainly needs to have access to someone in the middle of the night if she has some sort of a problem, which crop up every now and again. We got to that point in the plan review, and the reviewer said, oh no, we can't, this is sort of over the top, we can't have this. I'll have to go and talk to a senior supervisor. she went away for 10 or 15 minutes and came back and said, oh, look, no, we'll call this review off for the moment whilst we discuss this further. But really, Housing Choices should never have made you that offer without you having had already in your plan something that covered the eventuality of you moving into independent living by yourself. What you really need to do is you go away and find 4 or 5 people that, you know, who would be interested in sharing that sort of situation. And we said, well, how do we do that? Like, what do you do to find 4 or 5 other people in the same situation as you, and how long would that take? And they said, well, we don't really know. Like, we're funding providers. We don't facilitate. That's not our brief to sort of help you out in that way. It's just simply somehow you go away and do it. And they said, anyway, we'll get back to you and let you know the outcome of this review. A couple of weeks later, we got a letter saying that the review was denied, that we weren't even allowed to have a review. Even though we'd had a bit of a review, we were told it wasn't on. So we were finished. And the explanation was sort of like, basically it was that it was all going to cost too much. We appealed that decision to not have a review. I mean, this is all taking weeks, as you can understand, and Housing Choices are waiting. We then had a review, asked for a review of the decision to not have a review, and they then decided that that appeal of ours was upheld and that we could have a review, plan review. So then we started the process. So, okay, how do we actually find out who might be involved in the house the houses that Housing Choices had, the flats that Housing Choices had built? And we said to NDIA, well, you know, can you help us? And they said, oh no, we can't help you because of privacy. We can't tell you anyone else who's in there. This is all taking weeks and emails and back and forward. We eventually discovered that there was another service provider who had 3 people in those units. Well, we didn't even ask how come they got 3 people, and Gateways were told they couldn't. But anyway, so we're then able to link up with those 3 people. The service provider was then happy to have 4 people in those units and could then offer the sort of support Kate needed overnight, as long as we could arrange to have some sort of assistant technology, you know, some sort of electronic doodads that would allow Kate to contact if she needed any help. So that all seemed to be falling into place. We ran that by someone in NDIA and they said, well, you'll need an OT assessment to sort out some of this. So we had the OT assessment and we finally sort of got it all together and put the final one, finally got it in. I mean, like in end of January this is taken because everyone went on holidays over Christmas and blah, blah, blah. So we've finally got it in. Oh, and then they said, oh, hang on, you'll need an OT assessment then to cover the electronic doodads. So you had to go
doodad,
back to,
was it?
You go back to the...
Because a lot of the audience say, which technology was it? Doodad.
Well, doodad. I mean, I don't know myself.
Got it.
Kate, there's a watch that Kate can use to contact someone there are mats on the floor that can trigger if someone uses them.
So it sounds like technology helped a bit.
Yeah, and that's around, you know. It's so we're moving along.
That's great.
We're at the point now where we've put in our application, but because it was all closed off way back in October when the review was panned, it's now got to be sort of reopened again, and we're back right to the very beginning of where we were in October. So we still don't know. Poor old Housing Choices are a not-for-profit organisation, and you can sort of see why, because they're sitting around waiting for this thing to fall into place, and we're still waiting.
Can I just also say that Kate asks me every night Are they still working on me going into the flat? She's now waited nearly 4 months, and I don't know that that's really how NDIS is meant to work. Anyway, we'll battle on.
Very
and we
good.
hope she's in there very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.